Hey, welcome to this week's The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles and Wifey Part 2. Part two. I guess that's two. I don't know. But Part dos. Last week, you guys got to listen to my beautiful wife and us talk about all the things that come with marriage and entrepreneurship. So this week, we're going to continue that discussion. I hope you enjoyed last week. This is part 2 of that. DJ, hit the music, please.
Support for this program comes from the Digital Broadcasting Network, presenting podcasts and web series from everyday people who have an extraordinary passion to make the world a better place.
So, what, where have you been in all this? And what I mean by that is, have there been times where you felt, you can't get done what you want to get done, or for your own stuff, not like going grocery shopping and stuff, which I'm sure that has been, but I'm talking about like you wanting to do stuff.
Sure. Back in, that was probably 09, 10, I can remember, just wanting to be able to go do this fitness boot camp and, having to make sure that our daughter was picked up from school and, so that I could be able to go, and it just would not work out. So I had to give up on that. And a lot of things, it's the main thing is sacrifice. And because the nature of, having to.
I'm laughing because I joke around because Sherry used to say all the time, it's sacrifice. People don't understand it's sacrifice. So it's sacrifice. So. It
is. I can remember recently someone talking about, when you have a kid, your life gets put on hold until they get into adulthood. And so typically in a marriage or, relationship where there's a child involved, if, there's co-parenting going on, you hope that there's a little bit, some sense of balance and, partnership and sharing the responsibilities and things like that. But in this industry, it can be very difficult to be able to say, oh, I can devote, this time to doing these types of things, because you are really, completely around the clock having to be available for, showings in all the real estate matters. So that kind of takes away from, family time. It just does. That's just the nature of it. There are times when because you do have flexibility, I'll say that in quotations, flexibility. There's a lot of times that people are, demanding, I can only do this at this time. Right. And so because that is, the way you make your bread and butter, you want to be available to those people at the times that they're available too. And so there were several things that I would have liked to have done, but, wasn't able to. I had to sacrifice because, what the parenting was definitely a priority for me and being there. And so, yes, I would get disgruntled at having to miss out on a lot of the things that I wanted to do, but now looking back, of course, I feel like the benefit of doing that outweighed more than whatever feelings I had associated with missing out on some things. But yes, I had to, deal with those types of things because it is a grind in this industry, and you are, completely bombarded by different things and lots of responsibilities. And in order to be as, profitable, in order to be profitable and sustain your business and keep, revenue coming in, you really have to, be very available to your responsibilities.
So, two questions come to mind. How has it been since I've changed kind of full over to commercial?
It's been quite different.
For those of you that are, so there's some residential folks out there. So, Kevin Riles commercial. So since I've made the hard switch to commercial from an availability, I just want people to get the perspective.
Sure. It is.
It's not like I don't work.
No. It's been quite different for the last, I would say, a little bit more than a year, seemingly, maybe going on 2 years. Time passes by so frequently, so you kind of forget time markers. But it has been close to that, and the change has been quite substantial. More available on the weekends, And
Because when you're selling apartment complexes, people don't call you on the weekends. Just so y'all know, I just wanted to let that know. But anyway, go ahead.
There are some
every once in a while,
commercial showings, but definitely not as much as residential real estate requires. And so it has been nice because I could, in the past when residential real estate was primarily what you were doing, we could go 2 days without seeing each other and you still be in town.
We'd sleep in the same bed, but you get up early, I'm still in the bed, then I get in late, you're asleep already.
Exactly. And so
that doesn't happen as much. It still happens every once in a while, but it doesn't happen as much. Yeah.
Definitely not as frequently as it did back then. But now it's nice because I'll see you at home and actually be able to eat dinner with you, the three of us, and which is nice. And that's happened more frequently, over the past between, year and a half to 2 years. And that's been really nice. That's a significant noticeable difference in transition that has benefited me the most. So had we been doing this podcast back in 2009, it would have sounded a whole lot different than it does now. So all
Won't
of the
he
maturity.
Won't he do it?
Ain't he all right?
Ain't he all right?
Yes, he is. So
but it's real. Yeah. Hold on to God's unchanging hands. So we've talked about, I guess briefly the issues that, and we might run a little long, Mr. Producer, just so, but we've talked about the issues and the challenges of being married to an entrepreneur, married to the game, married to entrepreneurship. What are some of the benefits and things that you have liked over this time about that? Are there anything?
I was like, this is a question I wish I would have been able to
prepare for
on beforehand. That would have been nice.
Well, we can come back to it, but
no, I do want to.
I have some other stuff to ask you too,
speak to that just briefly and just say that, going back to the flexibility, of it is that
huge.
When, I may not have been able to get to something, for our daughter
during the day.
Exactly. Some type of performance or something like that. Because of the nature of the industry, you having more flexibility and then, working 8 to 5 or so, you're able to do that and be there for her. And I guess that just, speaks to that. Yes, parenting is a big priority. And so, being there for her. So that has been helpful. If I've forgotten something, that you're able to bring it to me. So the nature of the flexibility in the industry has been the most beneficial aspect of that, I think. And, and we talk about this, you will argue with me in regards to, I'll say, well, there's not stability in or consistency in income in the real estate industry. And then you will disagree with me. And so you'll say, basically, if you're doing what you're supposed to do,
dollar productive activities.
That's right. You're doing dollar productive activities. Then yes.
You can make it as consistent as you want it to be.
Exactly. Right. You stand firm on that. And so
ongoing, you can see that's still an ongoing.
But to that point, I'll give you a little bit of edge there. To that point,
did you get that on record?
Just a little bit.
This is on video.
Just
Go ahead.
Little bit.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Is that
Mr. Producer's doing this in the background, like she conceding the point? No, go ahead.
Is that you are not bound by certain terms of income, that you don't get this specific salary that says, oh, okay, this is how much you're going to make in a year. You can make it's
0 to 200,000 in 1 month,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
To plus. So that is definitely another advantage in addition to the flexibility. So those are two components that I could consider as pros.
So to me, that the last point translates: when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, it's really bad.
That's right.
From the money standpoint. So,
exactly.
like I said, when we do it, the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, my production has been consistently going up. which has allowed us to do, some things. And my biggest goal for those of you out there that have had to go through what I call my 40 days and 40 nights, my biblical, which is that period of time that we talked about at the beginning, is my goal is just never to be put in that position again. So I learned a lot during that. From a financial standpoint, my wife will tell you I'm not a big spender at all. In fact, I don't know if I'm cheap, but I'm definitely frugal.
We could say practical. You've made progress.
I've made progress. Thank you. But having a business savings, for instance, is something I learned during that time. Having low overhead, or keeping your overhead low, because if you keep your overhead low, what drives you out of business is the fact that Cher always says this, and I don't know if I agree, but now I do agree. Having a business and being self-employed or a business owner is like having two households. She said that.
Yes, indeed.
And so you have bills at your house, electricity, water, your mortgage, whatever your child is in, and all that. So you have those responsibilities. And then, whether I was renting or now owning this office condo that we're in, I got a mortgage here, I got electricity bill here, I got internet bill here. Channel 713, Mr. Producer, that's not free. He does charge me for this, which I appreciate. So I just want to let people know you don't work for free. Yeah, I thought I'd throw that out there. And this is considered in my marketing budget. So like, this is a whole nother responsibility. Yes. And Cher always says, having a business is like having another household. And it's important to realize that, because a lot of newer people, especially, I can remember when it got good a little bit when we had the HUD contract, and I got me a Benz. I got all the stuff that I thought when you get successful at business you're supposed to have, and which was great when you had the money to have it. But then when the market changed, I was sucking wind and trying to figure out how to get rid of stuff, and that's one of the challenges as well. So I wanted to ask you, you and I laugh about this now. So we've worked together basically in this 20-year time, 18 years of which I've been full-time. We've worked together twice. When I say work together, we always work together, but as far as you working up at the office with me is when we owned the Remax franchise.
In the industry, yes.
In the industry. Because my wife, by the way, is a very awesome speech-language pathologist, licensed speech-language pathologist in the state of Texas. And so she's oscillated between doing that and then assisting me part-time and then assisting me full-time. But I can remember recently we were having something at the house, and I was saying that this year Cher has come on full-time to help me here at the office, and I'm much appreciative of that. And so I was telling someone about that, and he literally went, "Your wife gonna work with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, and he was like, "Ooh, how's that gonna, work?" Like, he was just like, "Oh my God, are your marriage is gonna survive?" It was his reaction. And I was like, Cher and I work together like really, really well. It was puzzling to me, and I was thinking, what's going on at your household for your reaction to be like that? But so I wanted you to talk to the people about what they should consider when working with their spouse.
Yes, it's not for everybody. I will say that, and you have to have a certain. You have to have a good relationship, first of all. That is the foundation. You have to be able to, get along very well. And there's an element of humility that you have to have. And
you're talking about the desk in a better restaurant.
Particularly that I have to have in order to do that. Because if you're working together, you're going to be asking one another to assist you with doing something. And some tasks may be menial, and you have to not be above doing those types of tasks in order to help one another. And so you have to put aside, some ego or certain things and not think that there's anything that your, partner is asking you to do that you would not just roll up your sleeves and do it. That is essential to being able to work together. And like I said, it is not for everybody. I have very much so of a servant's, heart, like you mentioned several times before. And so that is very important. If I had a different personality, I don't think it would work out as well, because
if we both trying to be the alpha dog.
Exactly. Yeah. That's just not going to work. I wouldn't even try it.
Right.
Exactly. And so that helps out a lot. And then too, there's a balance. You're not always here, because by the nature of the industry, you have to be out in the field a lot. And so you're not always together, and so that helps too, because if you're together 24/7, I know that some people can do that, but not everybody can, that you may kind of start to weigh on each other. And so being able to have those breaks in between is really good, because of course, as I've heard before several times, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Right. And so you do want to have those, periods of break, but in a nutshell, getting along really well, being able laughing a lot, and, just not taking each other for granted, and being able to do whatever task it is to get the job done, and help each other out. Those are, the components that are essential to making it successful.
Yeah, I would say this too. Shared helps me administratively quite a bit, and when she talks about being humble and menial tasks. But for me, because I'm basically a kind of a small shop with Shared, have a buyer's agent as well. Those tasks are time saving, or life saving, really, because it's like, for instance, paying bills or keeping the office. Like when you're a small shop, self-employed person, you end up doing everything. So if she wasn't here to do that, then do some of those things. But they're immensely helpful. So it's not like she said, a matter of the weight, the perceived weight of the task. It's the fact that the task is getting completed in a holistic sense. It's extremely helpful. So the statement as it pertains to when you're working with your spouse, and whether it's going to pick up something, or writing something out, or dropping something off, or and that's either side, it is just extremely helpful in the grand scheme of things. Because if you're doing this real estate business, whether it be investing and flipping properties, or doing rental properties, or whatever the case may be, or you're doing it as a brokerage, or a little bit of both, if you're doing it at a high level, you have a lot of stuff to do at all times. I literally could, talking about a second household, I could live up here and never run out of work.
Yeah, it's 24/7.
It's 24/7. And so you have to turn it off at some point in time, but having help is essential. For those, I'm gonna let you talk to the sisters out there as we, in the tradition of the Black church, as we come to a close. For those sisters out there and women out there that are in relationships or marriages that their husbands have the inclination of either starting a business, or just starting a business, or you're dating someone, what advice would you give them, knowing what you know now? What advice would you give them?
Pray and hold on to his unchanging hand.
Always.
Yes, but that would be essential to to lean on the Almighty.
Right. Lean not on your own understanding, but all your ways acknowledge Him. Yes.
And He shall direct your path.
So we got Jesus in our relationship too. That's important. Yeah.
That is, yes, that's number one, priority number one. Right. But definitely be supportive and hope that person has a plan, because when you're trying to cultivate, business for yourself and get started, you don't want to do it without having a plan in mind, having something written down on paper, and, have a definite goal about how you're going to try to achieve, the things that you want to achieve and go about the plan. And you want to make sure that you have savings, and hopefully that is, key. It is definitely more conducive to keeping your finances going when someone is working full time and having, some consistent income
benefits
going on, as well as benefits that, just to be real, that takes the pressure off of the whole situation. If you do have that, because you want to make sure that, you're meeting the needs. You want to be able to eat.
Right. Not to put stress on the marriage if you can't eat.
That's right. Exactly.
Literally can't eat.
Seriously, or and be able to take care of the necessities and some things that you just want. It's just human nature for us to want to have some and be able to indulge in some pleasures.
TJ Maxx, Marshalls.
There you go. Yeah, of course. You're going to be able to go to the movie. You're going to be stuck at home. You can't go anywhere, So.
Netflix and chill. Okay, go ahead. All right.
So yeah. You
but for the sisters that are, if basically what you're saying is that if you're getting married to someone, or if you're dating someone that's an entrepreneur or about to be an entrepreneur, you need to be aware of these things.
Yes,
basically.
you do.
They need to have a plan. You need to make sure they have a plan and stuff like that, but they need to be aware of these things.
That's right. They need to be aware that, this person is going to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to ramp up this business, because it is very time consuming. So,
especially at the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning, if you're, newly dating someone or in a relationship, all of your extra time you want typically, or most of your extra time you want to spend with that person. And if that person is trying to ramp up their business, they're having to spend, a significant amount of time trying to get their business going, which would take away from that. So, in order to make that, kind of a little bit functional in a relationship, you might want to say, hey, let me help you out with this.
Right. Because, so we can spend some time together.
Exactly.
Right.
Otherwise, it could
Which is golden from a dude's standpoint. Like if you dating someone and they helping you with your business, like you're like, oh, I gotta, we in this together. Yeah. We in this together. We digging ditches together. Okay. You picked up a shovel. Awesome. Yeah.
Right. That would be one way to make that work.
Right. So I'm gonna do the same for guys. I think you have to be. If you're dating someone or you're newly married, you have to be transparent with your spouse or person you're in a relationship with in what your goals are. In other words, most entrepreneurs to me are genetically coded to be entrepreneurs, and so that person, Cher knew from the very beginning that I had entrepreneurial thoughts, not necessarily that I would do it, but I can remember us sitting down. I still have the diagram when I was miserable at Exxon and doing the, thing as far as like what paths I should take and things of that nature. Never knew how that would really work out, but it wasn't like me wanting to do, like you said, a natural progression. It wasn't a surprise to you, I don't think.
Right.
Because she knew me. And that's one great thing about knowing your significant other holistically and knowing how they think and getting to know folks as far as their inclinations are concerned is important. But guys, don't go into something like, being uber corporate guy or uber job guy and then just flip the script unbeknownst to your to your spouse. Right. That's just not or significant other because of the sacrifice that can cause issues. I didn't know I was signing up for this, and not that at that time what that even means, but having an inclination that that person is wired that way or thinking about those things is important. I would also say, watch out for your ego and their ego as it pertains to, entrepreneurship can come with, it's mine, right? It's mine, and I get the shine, and don't forget that there's support around you that's helping you get the shine as well. And if there's going to be an ego fight as it pertains to that, or person not being happy for your success, is a big thing I see sometimes in other business owners where I've literally a couple of years ago, was at an award banquet, and the name on the award was the man, the husband, and I was talking to the wife, and she just was so jealous and mad that he was getting the shine, and because they had done it, he acknowledged her like 3 or 4 times during his speech and the whole nine, but the fact that her name wasn't on the actual
end of the
award,
day, it had his name on it.
And I mean, a very successful franchising. But anyway, I just that stuck in my mind, like, you know, just like the Bible says, in all our ways acknowledge him, but in all our ways acknowledge your spouse too. And if I feel pretty comfortable that my clients can say I always talk about my wife and things of that nature, because it's not just me. I can't do this without her. So I think that's important.
It is, but it's a maturity thing also, because I can remember kind of feeling that way.
Check me.
Well, no, seriously, and feeling that way, and people would make remarks that, oh, you know, what do you do? You know, especially if they had gone to a particular house that we had lived in for a short while, and it's like, what do you do? They weren't asking me.
I do a podcast on the mansion that we lived in. But go ahead,
what I did, but asking you, and then it was like, well, oh my gosh, I work. You know, also I'm contributing to this, so why am I not getting any recognition for this? And I can remember checking that person, at least one person who said that,
and me not even, being honest with you, being aware that was even. I'll be, you know, like, I just remember, like, what, I don't understand, like, yeah, but that's just what they do, and you're like, no, this is global. Yeah,
that's right, it's global. But I think that you have to get to a certain level of maturity to be able to say, you know what, that is just how, you know, people are perceiving it. And so,
society,
and be able to say that, hey, you know I do what I do, and I'm comfortable with me knowing that I do what I do, and knowing that God sees what I do, but not having,
I know what you do,
but not having to have that confirmation from other people to say that, hey, you know, she is contributing to that pot as well, and that's just not the way, you know, people think.
Society is.
That's right. That's not the way society is, and to be able to, you know, accept that and just be like, okay, well,
no, it's important. I mean, so that's stuff you got to talk about. Or have some understanding on, or mature into, like, you know, we had, because it was just an unawareness on my part, but that there was a sensitivity to that, and that, oh yeah, no, we are doing this together, but I would get the credit for it, and so you know, that's just some things you got to think about from the guy side as well. So as far as we come to a close, I want you to be able to tell the folks anything that you've thought of as I've been talking, as to anything else that as we talk about marriage and entrepreneurship, and if there's nothing, that's fine, but that you just want people to be aware of as it pertains to marriage and entrepreneurship.
I think that I pretty much have spoken to most of the things. There's not anything that we haven't touched on that comes to mind, to be honest. I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you, and how proud of you that I am, that even through the rough patches that it was hard to hang on, it was hard to push through, but you know, you did, and we spoke to the level of support that we had, and you know, thank God for the support in our lives, and that, you know, pushing through and getting through and growing and you know, moving forward, that, you know, just to see that success pick back up, you know, and continue. And, you know, I just see nothing but more and more and more success for you. And I'm glad for you. So I know that you're telling me to speak more about marriage and entrepreneurship, but I definitely wanted to, you know, make my feelings known about how proud I am of you and what you've done and what you're going to continue to do. I'm proud of you for exerting a good level of focus, you know, into the industry where, you know, as before, it was just like, you know, what am I doing? Where am I going? And for a long time. And when you started to, you know, gain that sense of focus in the industry, that's when things really turned around and picked up, and it's, you know, continuing to move forward. So I'm very happy. for you and your success. And like they say, beside every good man.
Besides, beside in caps.
Let's use the right pronoun.
Hashtag beside. Yeah.
That's a good woman.
Yes.
I'm thankful and really happy and thankful to God to be that woman.
Man, that's ought to be enough said. So, well, I was going to do the same thing, but you are so much more eloquent than I am. But I appreciate you, and this was not planned, by the way. So people, but I appreciate you just being my ride or die. That's not as eloquent as what you put, but literally ride or die. Like Cher is with me, even if she's mad at me, she's still with me. And she's sweet all the time, but she does get mad at people, and gets mad at me, rightly so, by the way. But she's always, you've always been there for me. I appreciate that. I love you more than words can express. I've enjoyed our 20 plus years of knowing each other, but 20 years of marriage. And I guess maybe we're getting we should tape this and put this up for the 20-year vow renewal. But you're the perfect entrepreneur's wife. The perfect wife, period, but especially the perfect entrepreneur's wife.
Thank
so
you. And I love you too.
All right. So with that being said, I feel all mushy inside. This has been The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles, Marriage and Entrepreneurship. I want to thank my wife, Cher, Denise Williams Riles, for coming on. We'll have to do this again on some other subjects. I enjoyed it. I think she enjoyed it, even though I didn't prepare her for what I was going to ask her. And so can't wait for you guys to listen to this episode or these episodes, because this might turn into a double episode based on the time. But as we go throughout the weeks, I have some other things planned for you guys. And again, I always appreciate you. So one last reminder, please subscribe, right? Please review and please rate. In other words, subscribe, review, and share. Subscribe to our podcast. We're trying to get our subscribers up. Please share this with your friends and family. I've been out at different events, and people I was at an event yesterday, as a matter of fact, at 4:00 yesterday, and people were like, I really love your podcast. So, and then if you love it, please review. We're trying to get our reviews up. So for those Google Play folks and for those Apple iTunes folks, please put those ratings out there. So I will see you guys next week. Do you have questions about any of the topics I'm talking about? If you have questions, let me know. Email me at kevin@kevinriles.com. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com. I'm going to do a podcast just on the questions that you guys are sending me. So feel free to send them to me. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com.